Hello, everyone. You're watching Let's Talk About Prepping. I'm Tyler, your host, and for those of you re-watching, because no one else has gotten in here yet, thanks for watching. And today, what we're going to talk about during the first part of this live stream, the main topic of today's video, is what your endgame goal is for prepping. This is a video response to Ontario Homestead. He's a little channel who probably doesn't care if you go check him out or not, but he has some good thoughts and some good rambles. But this last one was about what's the point of prepping for you? Not why do you prep, not what are the things you prep for. We all know why an individual preps, but really what's the long-term goal? What's the point of it all? Hey, Creative Redundancy, how you doing? So unless you're young whippersnapper like I am, and I'll talk in a minute about why I don't really think that that's the case for a 30-year-old like me. But if you're older than that, if you're, raising kids or you're pushing retirement or older than that, whatever, we all need to ask ourselves what the point is of surviving, even just before any kind of collapse type situation. And the obvious answer for most biological beings is the next generation. And I'm not talking about Star Trek, although the Next Generation was one of the decent series there. What I'm talking about is your kids, or if you're not going to have kids, somebody else's kids, orphans in the collapse type situation, whatever have you. Hey, Anna, how you doing? There's really no point to life unless you're trying to leave some kind of mark on society, or more importantly, on a few different individuals who are important to you. And I think that that's the main goal to prepping. Besides just having a good purpose to life, it's to be able to help those around you and ideally those who are going to be taking on the world next. Now, a lot of you guys are going to say that I'm pretty young because I'm 30, but in a society where you don't have the long life expectancy that we do in the modern age, 30 is not that young. You can die at 30 a lot of different ways in a postmodern or a pre-modern world, and in a war-torn society as well. So yes, the Next Generation was good. So while I realize that 30 is pretty young, I have a lot of life ahead of me and all of that kind of stuff, I also realize that compared to the 5-year-olds, compared to the 8-year-olds that are going to be the actual next generation, that are going to be so noticeably different because of the world that they've grown up in, that they will be, I'll be old to them. I'm already part of the old world to children who are already born. And I realize that, especially in a world where things evolve and move so quickly. The age of becoming a dinosaur gets younger and younger as the world progresses. And so even at 30, I ask myself, what am I doing this for? Because even in any real collapse type situation, whatever have you, a lot of us, even with all of our survival skills and all of our gear, might just be extending our life by a year or 2 years or whatever have you. But yeah, like Creative Redundancy said, we're paving the path for others. When it all comes down to it, I think that any prepper, if they're being serious with themselves, needs to recognize their own mortality and that the world goes on without them. I think a lot of preppers are doing this just in a reactionary, fear-based sense, not because they're scared. Hey, SK Aji. Hello from California. Hello from Idaho. But we need to ask ourselves what we are doing this for and how that plays into how we prep. I think a lot of people don't necessarily hold their responsibility to society or to the next generation as a major consideration in why they're prepping, because they're preparing against certain situations. Now, I know a lot of people are doing it because they have kids. That's even why they've gotten around to it. They want to homeschool their kids. They want to give their kids something besides just the rat race to look forward to. And I think that that's one of the most noble reasons to prep. I mean, that's my main purpose, is aside from just wanting to build my dream prepping compound, which is a somewhat frivolous goal whenever it comes down to it. The only way that I really see long-term purpose in that is in trying to help, especially disadvantaged young people who otherwise just are not going to have the skills and things that they need to survive in the world the way it is, let alone in any kind of emergency situations. Chinese takeout is good, Anna. I don't blame you. I was actually I was craving McDonald's last night, but I didn't go. But Ontario Homestead made a few really good points. Hello, Ontario Homestead. I was just talking about you. I was just saying that you made some really good points in your video, and I actually am not going to touch on all of them here. Sort of a few different videos that I'd like to approach those things in, because you talk about a few things that I've already been thinking about. But yes, I was going to get a double quarter pounder with cheese. Yeah, I know it's surprising, Ontario. It's just really surprising. I'm just kidding, but no, that's basically what we're talking about here. Is what's the point of why are you prepping if you're just gonna die? You pointed me out as being one of the young ones, but I was even saying that compared to 10-year-olds, I'm already part of the old world. And while I still have a lot of life ahead of me to live, depending on what type of situation happens, that might not necessarily be the case. A lot of us might be dying off just to help get the next generation to survive. I mean, there have been multiple points in history where a lot of old people died off. But yeah, I was just talking about how for even somebody like me, prepping is not just what do I want to do to secure my stuff for later in life, but what's the ultimate goal? What's the purpose of that beyond? What is the purpose of prepping beyond just trying to win the rat race for me? Because at the end of the day, you need something better than that. And whether we survive or whether we die and our stash is left there for someone else, I think a little bit of philanthropism is in store. I think that part of what we are doing should be to help somebody else, somebody younger than ourselves, to do better. One thing that really bugs me, and this is one of the things that is going to be its own video or multiple videos, is the millennial bashing in the prepping community. And I really want to handle this right because I don't take it personally. And that's a symptom of the millennial bashing. And I'm planning a fear porn series here soon, where I don't necessarily think that this is going to be the case, but I could see millennials just really getting enough animosity towards past generations to really have some kind of societal divide there. I'm gonna bill it as the next Civil War because fear porn, but really when it comes down to it, there is a lot of animosity between the two generations, and when it comes down to it, the side that disappoints me most are the ones that are older and supposed to be more mature and all that. But man, I can't tell you how often I go into live streams or comment sections, and there just is not a single person talking about how they need to fellowship with younger people and help them see the right way to do things. It is just negativity and bashing on how stupid young people are. And I'm sorry, but it's the fault of older people if young people have not been raised properly. And at the end of the day, millennials and Gen Zers and Generation Oneers, or whatever you want to call it, are they're going to be what's left when the rest of us die, and we can't survive forever. So what is the point of bashing on the millennials that aren't smart, that aren't capable, or the Gen Zers, whatever's, if they are inevitably going to be all that's left, if they are going to be the ones picking our retirement homes, if they are going to be the ones out there catching the food when we're all too broke down to go catch a deer in the post-collapse world, what is the point of just bashing on young people? Uh, and nobody's talking about finding decent millennials and Gen Zers and trying to build a future. It's all just about reactionary prepping, and it's disappointing. So I'm always seeing different things about when Gen X and Gen Y and whatever are. The last thing that I saw was that I think it's anybody who's up to 39 years old this year is a millennial, which is much older than I thought. They're just always switching that, I think. Well, the main thing that bugs me about any of it is pretty much what you guys are saying is um, these are vast demographics that you're talking about. There's actually a reason why you can't discriminate against people based on age. It's one of the protected categories right alongside religion and gender and sexual orientation. You can't discriminate based on age. And yet, for some reason, it's actually incredibly acceptable to bash on younger people. But just like it would be dumb for me to say that no person over the age of 40 has computer literacy comparable to anyone under the age of 40, because that's just a blanket statement about a huge chunk of the population where there's just vast differences between people. It's also dumb to say that no millennials have respect for the elders or hold doors open for people or know how to do things like can food and stuff like that, because plenty of us do, and we also know how to do computer stuff. There are plenty of millennials who are millionaires, self-made millionaires. There are plenty of millennials who have genius level IQs, and there are plenty of elderly people who can pick up, or who are still out there competing with young people. So it's just silly to make generalizations like that, but it's pretty rampant when it comes to talking about the younger generations when we're talking about something, about long-term survival situations. And that's really where I want that to uh, come around to is if we're talking about survival, if we're talking about long-term grid down or things like that, we need to look at the life expectancy going down dramatically. And if a lot of us are going to be dying a lot younger than we expected, then what is the point of it all except for getting the next generation ready to be self-sufficient? Just messing with my studio settings here for a minute. Just don't mind me. Talk amongst yourselves. Yeah, it really just is a wide spectrum of across all groups, like any other thing. I mean, it's just like racism or uh, gender discrimination or sexual orientation discrimination. Anytime you take an entire group of people defined by basically an abstract concept like age or any of those things, and just make broad generalizations about them, you're going to be wrong about just the vast majority because, uh, you know, you're talking about individuals with vastly different experiences. Oh yeah, Belgian. I when I was taking martial arts, one of my senseis had just gotten done recovering from hip surgery or a hip replacement. Was finally up and walking around again and able to actually, finally done with recovery. And he came in, and this guy literally, I mean, he looked more like Santa than any person I've ever seen. Just walking around, he was not trying. He was just wearing I think he was wearing pajamas because he was just having a lazy day. And he came into our training session, and I mean, big white beard, big pot belly with the wide hips and stuff. I mean, this guy looked like he was Santa trying to act normal, and he was throwing us around. I mean, even the advanced students, it just he'd have you come at him, try to land a full unrestrained punch, and you'd be on your ass. I mean, he was just an old dude who had just gotten done recovering from surgery, and I was, I'm nothing amazing, but you'd expect to at least have some level of effect, but you could not get near this dude. He didn't even have to kick you or anything. He just, used redirection and stuff, but he just knew so many parts of his body to throw at you that you didn't know which one was going to be coming at you once you threw your punch. Once you came at him, uh, there was no telling whether it'd be a hip or a leg or whatever that'd be getting in your way and sending you to the ground. No, Detroit, I haven't in years, but I've actually really wanted to lately. If I found a place that I liked, I'd even consider just going somewhere just to have somewhere to be till I found somewhere better. But um, I don't like a lot of dojos in the way that just the rote training. I want something a little more traditional. Yeah, Ontario. I wish it would. We got good snow here, and I think it's raining temperature today, which is a real bummer because I've got a snow cave I'm trying to build, and I can't work on it whenever it's this warm out. 35 degrees. I haven't been watching him lately, Belgian Prepper. Hello, Polish, Alexandra Polish girl. Yeah, I don't know. I've thought about going back to watch him just to see what's up over there, but I just can't bring myself to do it. Hey, Will, how you doing? Will from Just in Time Prepping in the house. Everybody, how you doing today, Will? Ancient alien stuff. Yeah, well, for one thing, um, I just don't want to devote my watch time uh, to channels like that. I'd rather, just because of the way that the algorithm works and stuff with your watch time and their payout and stuff, I'd rather focus, I'd rather watch only channels that I support rather than link them with channels that I don't. So if people are getting suggested videos from my view time, because for instance, some of what you guys get suggested has a little bit to do with what I watch in my personal time. Now, it doesn't let you know that, but the way that YouTube informs itself, it's cross-linking. Like, you guys watch me, you're here watching me, so you must agree with me a little bit. So they might suggest to you things that I watch or other viewers among this audience here watch as well. So I'd rather not be going and watching clickbait, basically, because some of you guys might watch my video and then get suggested a clickbait channel, uh, and then go off down a rabbit hole that I don't really think people should be wasting their time with. Then again, I watch some weird stuff too. Yeah, Belgian Prepper. Hey, Gil, how you doing? But yeah, I also, if you're watching the ads on those channels, or if you're using YouTube Premium and watching those channels, you're sending them money that you could be sending to your fellow channels that you actually want to be supporting. Like, um, if I use YouTube Premium, so whether I'm using that or you're using ads, if you're watching through the ads and stuff on channels that you like, they're getting, what, 4 cents per ad or something like that. But don't spend that time on channels that you don't really agree with just to have something going in the background. I'll actually go back and watch videos that I've already seen 3, 4, or 5 times, just because they're from somebody that I know, because I want to boost their watch time, or get their videos trending again or whatever. So I am actually pretty cutthroat with whether or not I'll bother watching a channel if a lot of their stuff is clickbait or not very well thought out. Um, then if it's just sort of regurgitating stuff and not necessarily giving a unique analysis on the thought process behind something, I don't really have the time for it. Whereas I'll spend a lot more time on a channel, even if it doesn't have a lot of concrete information to share, but they're really getting into inspiring new thought on a topic. I'll rewatch those quite a bit. Yeah, and it does sort of, you can influence that a little bit if you watch, like you were saying, ethical preparedness, and then it's going to say, there's the next 10 autoplay suggestions are going to be for bigger, more clickbaity channels. If you go down and every single time you click directly on the next ethical preparedness one, you can eventually, in most situations, train YouTube. This is what I want to see. All right. Thanks, Creative, for dropping in. Appreciate you being here. Yeah, and there's a lot that you can do. A lot of people complain about the algorithm, and I've met, actually, I'm going to write that down because that's been on my list for a while. I dug out one of my old books, I've been given as like a journal, just one of the many things I've been given as a gift over the years. I dug this out, and this is going to be my good channel notebook, so I don't lose it, and I'll use it to actually keep track of my video ideas and stuff. I've got at least 20 different notebooks half full of YouTube channel information and ideas and just stuff that I need to compile. But people have this big scary idea about the YouTube algorithm that they actually sort of think of it like Skynet, like it's got an identity of its own and stuff. And it's interesting because to a certain degree it does. Like no single YouTube employee or anybody in the company really understands the full complexity of the algorithm, but that's only because they let so many people alter it in different ways to see what will happen that nobody controls it. But that's just because it's a machine too large for any person to have a full understanding of, not because it's this vast and unknowable entity. They tweak little if-then factors inside the algorithm, and the algorithm is built if so many tens of thousands of if-then modifiers that it's impossible to know how many of them will affect a single channel at any given point, especially because the algorithm isn't always applying them equally to each channel. It's doing things on an experimental basis so that at any given point they can pull up statistics about channels based on all kind of different things. But especially people in our community get a little too conspiracy minded with that. They hear little snippets of things that are known about the algorithm, and they expound upon those way too far and give them sort of conspiratorial motives where they shouldn't. But basically, my point is the algorithm is a machine. It's a computational algorithm that both can be misused or can just sort of mess up the system enough to screw people over. But it can also be used, if you know what you're doing, to affect quite a lot. Anna. Yes, a good journal and a good pen are pretty nice. I don't think I'll ever get away from just actual good analog writing. I do appreciate digital stuff like Google Documents and things like that, but there's just no true replacement for pen and paper. Hey, Tony. All right. Good to know you're lurking. It's better than not knowing you're lurking. It is quite well maintained, Belgian. The YouTube algorithm is an amazing thing when it comes to technology and systems and stuff like that. Yeah, see, that's the thing is you can actually use the thumbs up algorithm and stuff to strongly affect the kind of content that you want. It's just a lot of people they misuse it, and then they get dinged for misusing it. Yeah, and see, that's the thing is, the thing that gets demonized the most is the bell notification and the uh, sub subscribed button. Um, YouTube has openly stated a lot of times that they're just going to be messing with that, largely because people abuse it. If you're, I mean, most people that I see in this prepping community are either part of live streams, like, Let's Grow live streams or whatever. And those, no matter what you're saying in the live stream, no matter what, it's the behavior of the other people in that live stream that's going to get you dinged. The fact that they're going to other similar live streams. Um, and if you do that kind of thing, YouTube is going to go, all right, let's see how many of these channels you actually care about. They're going to unsub you or unnotify you from a lot of channels and see which ones you actually cared about enough to remember, because so many people are just running around using subscriptions as a currency rather than a way to actually stay focused on channels that you care about and content that is good. And it really screws YouTube over because YouTube can't know what content is good if people are treating good content like bad content. So it's funny to me because so many people demonize the denotification or the unsubbing thing that YouTube does, but then at the same time they go into a room and subscribe to 30 people, but then never watch their videos. And it's just like how you're throwing so much mud in the water. Something, it's a computer system that has to do something. But it's just funny how conspiracy minded the community is. There are so many things where if you really just use Occam's razor, try to cut to the simplest, most mundane and plausible explanation for something. There's a very clear explanation for a lot of things that people just jump right to the conspiracy option for, because that's where their mind's at. Oh, yep, thank you, Will. Hit the thumbs up or the thumbs down button, or, whatever. Interact in some way. Be nice. I think I'm the only one who hasn't, actually. Oh, conspiracy is definitely an easy culprit. And it's great because there are conspiracies. You just never know which ones are real or not, which is the point of a conspiracy, which makes it perfect to speculate about. Whoa, Tony. All right, hold on a second there, because I can always blame somebody else for my lack of effort. I don't see what the two have to do with each other. I might not be right, but I can always do it. Yes, conspiracy theories are very fun, Ontario Homestead. I do enjoy them quite a bit, but unfortunately, they really do not play well into a reasonable, reality-based perspective on preparing for the future. which I know you agree with me on. Sorry, I've been meaning to check my Teespring account for a while because I forgot about it. So that's what I'm doing while we're on our live stream. You're welcome. What do you guys have going on today? Belgian prepper. Actually, my preferred theory about JFK involves X-Men. I think that X-Men actually explained it pretty well. JFK was a mutant. They were trying to kill him, and Magneto tried to save him but failed, and then took the rap for killing him. Yes, Ontario. That's a very fair thought. At least you were clear about what you meant. You were blaming them. You didn't say it was their fault, just that you were blaming them. Hello, Gray Man. How you doing? Wait, what about midgets? Short people? Oh, yes. What's his name? Guy who played Trask. Why do I forget his name? Dinklage. Peter Dinklage. Anna. Don't be telling kids to pick up things they didn't put places. I mean, it's unethical. A child should not be made to pick up someone else's toy. Or if they do, you need to form some kind of currency where other children owe them toy pickups in exchange for their earlier misplaced blaming of, come on. Yeah, I do like Peter Dinklage. He's a great actor. Does anybody here use a one of those password tracking apps? I forget which ones. I can't remember if Dashlane's one of them. Yeah, they're like a single app that controls all your passwords and links them for you using encryption. Because I've considered using one of those sometimes, especially if I start doing online business type stuff. Could be a good idea to have maybe a VPN or a password manager. Yes, Tony is right. I am at the exact same height as Peter Dinklage. This isn't actually a chair, it's just a prop that I use. I'm standing vertically right now. Ontario. I would call you out on that joke because it really is just the low-hanging fruit on the topic, but I guess I don't really have any room to speak. Where is my spam folder? For some reason, my email account decided that Teespring was spam. All right. Well, thanks for dropping in. You have a good one. Appreciate you being here. And you take it easy and get to feeling better. I think everybody sort of misses having your daily live streams around. Actually, Tony, here's the funny thing. You can discriminate based on height. In most jurisdictions and federally, while it is wrong, you can't actually discriminate based on age, gender, sexual orientation, military status, all kinds of different things. Height is not listed in most situations. So you can literally tell people that you're not going to hire them because they're too dang tall or too dang short. You can't come into this place. We don't like shorties in here. There's actually not in most places a law that says that is discrimination that a business or a governmental agency can't undertake. So that's interesting. All right, Belgian prepper. Catch you later. Have a good one. Sorry, I'm looking through Teespring right now. Oh no, I just thought that was funny. That was actually Tony. That was hilarious. I just, yeah. Which actually, I don't think that it's considered wrong to make fun of a language group, But the silverware thing, I've never heard that one before. It was horrible, but it was funny. I think Teespring might have taken down my shirts. I'm not sure. I can't find. Maybe I'm on the wrong account. I didn't think there was a minimum sell, like you have to sell a minimum amount or else they'll take them down, but that might be the case. Well, the end game is always to kill Thanos, Tony. Yeah, and I thought you would have. I actually had my shirts whenever, way back when, before I stopped doing videos for a while and stuff like that. I'm actually wearing one right now, which got me thinking about it. It's all fun and games till somebody loses an economy. And then it says, let's talk about prepping on the back. I accidentally bleached it. It used to be a much solid color. Somewhere I've got pictures of the designs. I had shirts and sweatshirts up on Teespring, but it looks like I didn't sell enough and they might have taken down my designs. But yeah, Gil, the sort of my point at the beginning of the video with the end game thing, and I think you probably have this down because you got a couple generations to worry about behind you, is mostly just a lot of preppers don't seem to have a long-term goal beyond just their own survival, which in a lot of situations is only going to be a year or two past the collapse, just because they're not preparing for long-term sustainability agriculture kind of thing in case of a major collapse, which is what a lot of them are worried about. But a lot of them aren't thinking about, why am I really doing this? What comes after surviving for a few years? And it's all, for any biological being, it's the next generation. Like I said, I don't mean Star Trek, although it is one of the better series. It's the youngins, the next ones, is the point of it all. But I think you sort of get that. You already have a couple generations that you worry about. So there's just a lot of preppers who are disengaged from the youth, and all they want to do is bash on them and not necessarily consider the fact that, yes, you can survive. Maybe you can even survive to a ripe old age, even in a complete collapse type situation. But really, what's the point if no one's going to remember you if you didn't leave a mark on the next generation? And yes, homesteading wins in the end, Tony. Interesting. Well, what do you guys have going on today? That's about what I've got for the topic for now. Hey, it's up. I don't know why I cannot find it from my end of the account. Here's the funny thing. I found my shirts. Which I guess maybe you can order on Teespring. When I had them up in the first place, even a couple months after I had posted them, even after I had ordered one of my own shirts, I couldn't search for the name in the Teespring because the name of my shirt is Fun in Games, and I could not search it by that name. They hadn't put it into the search engine yet for some reason. It wasn't automatic. But now I can't find the shirt in my account, and I have no history of my own purchase of this shirt right here. But when I go to search the keyword in Teespring, now it's in the search engine, but not my account. So hopefully I still have the rights to that, and it'll pop up if somebody purchases one. But that, if it works, is a link to this shirt. And if I'm not mistaken, from there you can switch the style to long sleeve tee, pullover hoodies, things like that. And I need to go back and check my prices, but if I remember correctly, I only have everything set about $1 over the cost it takes to make it. So let's see if I can find my storefront. Oh, yes. Okay, my other shirt design. On the front, it says, let's talk about prepping on YouTube. And on the back, it says, lazy prepper. If I am running, try to keep up. Just sort of a play on that old nuclear physicist joke. Hello, Dad on YouTube. How you doing? Tony, it makes perfect sense to me that you dream about cooking. And chicken and dumplings sounds pretty darn good right now, actually. I think I might need to ask for chicken and dumplings. And by the way, since I got a lot of folks here, I got a few different channels in here. I have wanted to start a trend, and Tony is really the one to lead the charge here, and he made a video about this recently, so I'm pretty happy about that. Recipe videos. I know how to cook within my own, I can cook some decent food, usually short order style in a restaurant, but I can also cook quite a few decent meals around home. But my parents and my sisters are amazing cooks. They have just dozens of recipes in their heads, and I have asked them if they will help me, if they'll let me film their videos, film their food, their meals, and help me make videos sharing some of the recipes that are, just the cooking that I've grown up with. Because a lot of people, not a lot of people in my circle necessarily, I know a lot of you guys cook scratch, but cooking from scratch is one of the most important meals that prepper, sustainable living homesteaders can have. And it's grossly underappreciated. I know that there's some great channels like Palmetto Prepared and Prepper Potpourri, usually channels that have 2P names. They make a lot of recipes. I don't know why. But if you're going to be storing food, I think it's pretty generally agreed that the best way to store long-term food is to store staples and know how to cook staples and rotate them and basically eat what you prep and prep what you eat. And Tony is one of the best channels that I know of for really looking at cooking your food from scratch, from materials that you have around you that you can have in a grid down situation, and actually producing good food that's going to keep you happy, because nobody likes bland meals consistently. It's actually one of the most important factors in literally any in life, period. Like you can't really um, you can't really get around that. I mean, some people don't care about food, and I actually appreciate that Tony made that point, considering that he's a foodie, to appreciate the fact that some people don't care about food. Some people just they eat it. It's an obstacle to get through, and then they go on with their day. Some people really care too much about food and identify their mood and their general circumstance with it. And some people are in between, see it as a fuel, see it as what you need. But whatever your relationship with food is, in a grid down situation, you need to have the ability to produce good food. Yeah, Dad, on YouTube, I eat a lot of food other people cook too, but I'm not a dad, I think. But yeah, food videos just don't get clicks. Exactly, but importance is second to none. And really, what it comes down to, I mean, for me, and I think you appreciate this, but I'll put a video out knowing it won't get clicks, and I think you should, because some of my most important videos, from my perspective, they might get 7 views. I'm glad somebody caught that. I'll put out a video that personally I think is one of my most important videos. Like, for instance, that it actually did get appreciated, but I think that my salt and baking soda swishing for your mouth video, one of the most important videos that's ever been put out for prepping. Just for the pure simplicity of the fact that so many people don't focus on dental health in a grid down situation, even though they brush their teeth every day, they mouthwash, they floss every day. Maybe they do have a couple years worth of toothpaste, toothbrushes, and floss and all that stuff. But bad teeth are going to kill a lot of people in the grid down situation. And it doesn't get appreciated, but it's going to be one of those slow burn things where a year, 2 years into the collapse, you're going to have a lot of people who have crippling tooth pain, who are getting abscesses, who are getting jaw infections that are going to kill them. And if something as simple as baking soda and salt and just having everybody in your group swish it 2-3 times a day, maybe in front of your medical professional, which is a thing. I don't hear enough people talking about how certain hygiene and health things, like brushing your teeth, taking care of certain things, some military units make you do that in front of your medical person, so they know you're changing your socks, your whatever, or at least I was under the impression that they do. But if you're in a tight-knit group in a survival situation type thing, there are certain health factors that you sort of do need to get a little less free about, so that you don't have somebody who's suddenly, like, you find them passed out in bed, they won't wake up because they didn't tell anyone they had an abscess, and now they're running a crazy fever, and there's really nothing you can do because they've got an infection that's gone all the way up through their skull. And that happens. And that can happen if you're brushing your teeth. You got to have good tooth care. Exactly, Anna. There's just, there's a line. I'm not saying everybody needs to be, giving urine checks to their group corpsman or whatever, but there are certain things like that, where, just when it boils down to it, dental health maintenance is going to be one of the most important factors, because there's not a lot of options when it comes down to it. At the end of the day, especially once an infection's taken hold or the tooth is gone, there's no dentist to go and have it surgically removed. But while plenty of you guys saw that video of mine that I thought was so important, despite its pure simplicity, a lot of you guys did actually comment on how that's an important topic. It's also one of the ones that I would fully expect to get pushed to the side and forgotten about. Sort of like my food smoothie ones. A lot of people go, "Oh, that looks good," but it really doesn't get the same number of views that I can fully expect from a knife video or a gun video, as corny as that is, or even just like a bug out bag video or whatever. Those things get easily, I mean, I can expect 50, 60, 100 views, which, isn't that bad for a video of mine for just the first day. Whereas for something health related or whatever hygiene related, 7 views, just a fraction of what I might expect for the first day. But then later on, somebody goes looking for that and it might save their day or be, a link in something that they were trying to research or whatever. And particularly that one with the tooth care, that one yeah, I wish you hadn't missed that too, Dad, on YouTube. I actually have more planned for that. So, series wise, just coming back to it with videos. But what I was talking about, the video I was mentioning was it was a little video I did about using just a little bit of salt and a little bit of baking soda and water as a daily swish for your mouth and storing those as dental items. And it's just a simple video, nothing special, nothing new or groundbreaking for a lot of people. But to me, it was just like a little gem. And I was just getting at this with the algorithm and with putting videos out there that would seem to be not important at first or not really not going to grab a lot of views or whatever. But I still find value in them because I know, for instance, there might be somebody down the road who's having a really bad day with their toothache, and they find that video because of the way that I titled and tagged it. And maybe it does, it is a trick that works for them like it works for me, because it really is the only thing that gives me relief. And tooth pain is crippling, so if I can pass that along to someone else, even if it's 6 months or a year down the road, that video may even become viral. So you just never know which one you put out that is just not popular at all. Most channels, the video that made them viral is one of those ones that they knew was never going to be popular or thought was never going to be seen. All right, Gil. See ya. Thanks for dropping in. We'll catch you later. Tactical Tuesday at Gil's channel later on, guys. But yeah, Tony, it's some of my most successful videos I feel have been ones that were clickbait. I don't know. I've always thought it was sort of an art form, actually, sort of in the sense that it's very difficult to do, to make a video clickbaity, but slip in actual useful practical knowledge without doing the whole bait and switch. Because I do appreciate doing a clickbait title and then immediately being like, hey guys, I'm not going to be talking about that clickbait thing. I'm actually going to be talking about some reasonable practical knowledge that I want you to hear rather than clickbait. But I also like mixing the two so that they never realize they've been tricked. Sort of doing the clickbait thing, but slipping in actual, good knowledge while still sounding fear porny. But you have to be, it's very difficult. people interpret things so subjectively that actually sometimes I like my prepper terminology videos. I'm just trying to like reopen conversation. I'm not trying to define things. I'm just trying to get people to stop assuming that their interpretation of any given word or concept is the same as everybody else's, because it's not. And I don't think anybody here really, but you go into live streams and stuff of some of the bigger channels where you got a lot of new people who aren't necessarily as well versed in some of the culture of the prepping community. Every single person has a different concept of what, not what SHTF the word should mean, but what it means to the group, what it's going to be like. So if somebody, I don't know, you just can't have a conversation coming from the same perspective anymore, because you just don't know what that person assumes about the same circumstances that you're talking about. It does, Tony. But the thing is, and I think a lot of you guys do the same thing. I don't see, like, I've thought about going clickbaity for a while, and there are a couple videos actually because of Dad on YouTube. You know, asking for some actual good, fresh fear porn, because, you know, all the stuff that's out there is played out and used, and it's just sort of tiring to hear the same channels saying the same thing, just repackaged with a slightly different bow on top, you know? And it's getting old. So I have been trying to think up a little bit of fresh fear mongering, a little bit of fear porn to bring to the masses. It's really not my thing. Nobody got time for. Yeah, Dad. I'll link it real quick in case anybody has any interest. But it was really nothing special, just a little video about it. See, my current fear porn angle is millennials versus boomers. And I realize that that's a little corny and maybe sounds a little played out, but I think preppers are going to love it. And I almost don't want to do it just because I've been in a few live streams where that went down lately, and it's ugly. If you get a millennial bashing on boomers, I mean, there's blood in the water. Which makes me not really want to touch it, but at the same time, it sort of makes it all the more viable as a topic. And it plays into what we're talking about today. Something happening here. Like I'm on StreamYard, so it might also be a little bit of a gap. But it's ironic to me because, I mean, maybe not millennials, but Gen Z and whatever comes next, which I'm calling Generation 1, which I think is actually might be apt, because the generation that comes after Gen Z might actually, you know, inherit a world so different than ours that we might as well call them Generation 1. Because if we do see I think that my generation, as I age, will see the end of the world as we know it. Whether that's the dawning of the new modern age with artificial intelligence and automation and all this crap, or, you know, SHTF, kind of the end of the world as we know it. I think that there are people being born today who are going to live in a world vastly different from ours. And that's, you know, something I appreciate Ontario Homestead for bringing up the topic today, because you know, the new coming generations of people are the ones that, you know, we're handing this world to. But at the same time, here in the prepping community, because so much of the base of this community are aging conservative individuals who have strong traditional beliefs, many of whom do deserve the respect of, there's a lot of good older folks here who have been disillusioned with the fact that younger people have not been raised right. And there are a lot of younger people who have not been raised right. And I'm fully willing to acknowledge that. But to focus on them rather than the ones right there in the chat with you who are worth something is immature, personally, is what I think. And so it's just silly that, millennials are sort of the whipping post. Yeah, Space Force. I mean, exactly, Dad on YouTube. Who here is raising their kids, not necessarily with the false hopes, but with the possibility that they might be, and that space might be part of business. Maybe not like they're going to be going to space or whatever, but yeah, I mean, it might be possible. Okay, let's say that there isn't a space force in this generation, but they start trying to train people to be more, more STEM, more space flight technology. These are things that people are not training their kids to be ready for. But anyway, yes, generation wars are the fear porn of the future. Either team up across generations or be prepared to get caught in the generational battle. Yeah, Seether. See, to me, good Space Marine armor is like StarCraft. I'm looking for a StarCraft style future. I want battle cruiser operational. StarCraft was a good science fiction world. See, Dad on YouTube, your kid, if your son's in elementary school, he may well end up having a Space Force to join. Yes, Space Force is directly the result of kids that played StarCraft growing up. I fully believe that. And I usually played Terran. I always like to mix it up because the styles are so different. I like Protoss, but they're pretty tough to get going, especially in free-for-all games, which is what I liked. You get started so slow with the Protoss that you're going to get Zergling swarm far before you even get a few Zealots going. I really wish I've actually done a StarCraft video. I had to go and take it down. Maybe I didn't take that one down, but video game videos are the only ones that I'm actually hesitant to do. But I would actually do some old school video game playthroughs on this channel. Yeah, Tony. Oh, I'm sorry, Ontario Homestead. Let me fix that. Hello, Chris's Hike. All right, Ontario. We'll go old school. Should I have some Havana Honeys? Or a Big Babe? Oh, that one smells pretty good. It smells like a petting zoo. This one's called American Stogies, and it's got an Indian on it. I mean, this would be better than vaping, right? Actually, I got a good one somewhere. I've got one that's soaked in or aged in Maker's Mark barrels. All right, Dad on YouTube. Thanks for chatting. We'll catch you later. Yeah, great man. I'm sort of looking forward to having an opportunity to try that one. I don't give myself the opportunity to smoke cigars too much lately. Well, I think I might wrap it up soon. It's not too far away from when I need to be going to work. Probably go for another half hour or so though. But what do you guys got going on today? No, I've already asked a couple of you that, but then we kept going. Yes, whiskey is good, Ontario Homestead. Currently working on a little bit of Bullet bourbon. Not currently, but that's the bottle that I've got over there. Broken tractor. That's right. You were mentioning that. That's no good, Ontario. Well, I hear nature calling, so I'm going to go respond to her call. Be right back. Wait, what, Tony? Is it the smell of the lumber that does it for you? Lowe's. That's funny. Did I shrink it? Yeah, I shrank so small that I went down below the edge of the frame. No, I didn't wash my hands. Now my germs are on your face. That's funny, Tony. You probably got conditioned as a child. Well, who has something exciting to talk about in the future? I'm going to be working on a couple different video sort of responses. I'm going to do a food video in response to Tony. Subconsciously know work is coming. Yeah, that's true. But yeah, probably one of my next videos is going to be talking about the importance of food and nutrition, both now and in an emergency situation. Just because Tony and Reed over at Manifestations of Imagination have been talking about it, and it's a pretty key topic here on this channel. Nothing too special, just a little more of the same, talking about how important it is to be healthy and have good nutrition and good food, stuff like that. So, but it's honestly, if there's any horse worth beating here, it's that one is just good nutrition and good food, because a lot of preppers just want to check that one off the list and then move on to other funner things. But food it should never be neglected. It should never be put on the back burner just because you have some buckets of rice. You need to be eating that rice. You need to be constantly watching videos about other things to cook with that rice, and more to do than just rice. But yep, we're going to be talking about that. Let's see, what else are we going to be talking about? Fitness. Going to try to find a way to talk about fitness without everybody hating me for it. Get a new vacuum, Anna. That's nice. All right, good luck, Ontario Homestead. Hopefully that hammer trick works. It's worked for me in the past. Yeah, Tony, that's actually one of my main, going to be one of my main points, is really getting people to think about the comparison of two groups of people who are identical in fitness and gear loadout and everything like that. But one of them is eating a cup of noodles or freeze-dried food every day, and the other group is eating hash browns and sausage and eggs every morning, and they're going out and skirmishing against each other. Which one is going to have an advantage? Okay. No, Ontario Homestead. I'm not going to be putting tights on for you. You guys enjoyed that way too much last time. And those aren't tights. Those are just thermal leggings, which everybody uses nowadays. I'm sorry that they're not white and waffle pattern. I wear those under my clothes. But it's okay to wear Under Armour where it can be seen. I don't know why you guys enjoyed that so much. Yeah, Anna, it's the one with better fiber intake. Yeah, that's fiber is important. But just the sheer just the amount of good bioavailable nutrition. But yes, morale definitely. People get bored of the same old thing, and it's not just bored like, oh, just deal with it. It's psychologically, if you are stressed out and eating something that you're not happy with, you will become incapable of eating it. It will make you sick. Um, and I've done that just in my comfortable life now, or whenever I've been extremely poor and living off of just one type of food. You reach a point where your gag reflex comes into play, just trying to eat something again. Um, that might be a little different in a true survival situation where you're truly starving, but by the time you've reached the point where you're so starving you'll eat literally even something that your body can't digest anymore, you're so weak, so beyond the point of being fit and vibrant and vital. We're out of the conversation that we want to be having. Yes, Anna, you guys want me to become a kind of channel that I'm just not ready to become. All right, I'm sorry. Not on YouTube, at least, and not for the kind of money I would be making. No, I'm not ready, Anna. Can't tell me I'm ready for that. That's the problem with this world. Peer pressure. I'm not a hobbit, Anna. You guys need to get off of that one. I'm just a short person. An incredibly short person. Hobbits aren't real. Although I've been getting back into Lord of the Rings a little bit lately. I don't know what I did, but YouTube decided that I wanted to watch a bunch of videos about Lord of the Rings lore. Like some real hardcore background stuff, which I appreciate. I really like. I started reading the Silmarillion, but like is pretty much universally the case. The first time anyone tries to read that, I got bogged down about a third of the way through and gave up. But I really enjoy. I mean, the depth, the background depth of the Lord of the Rings is amazing. Yeah, Men of the West is one of the channels. Geek Zone. There's a video called Geek Zone. He's a European, but he does really good breakdowns. But yeah, I just really appreciate the background lore of some of that stuff. Sort of a little bit of a kick that I've been on. But anyways. I'm pretty sure there's actually a reason for that, but I just can't remember it right now. Oh, that's cool, Anna. That's awesome. Yeah, I've been watching them here and there for a while, but then YouTube grabbed that and really decided I want to watch a lot of it. Well, see, I don't know the answer right now, but all I had to do was type why didn't the Eagles? And YouTube gave me just a whole list of theory videos. Yeah, see, so all I had to do was type in why didn't the Eagles, and the first suggestion was fly Frodo to Mordor. Um, and I'm willing to bet that somewhere in Tolkien's Lost Letters, there's something about the Eagles were off doing something else in some other part of Middle Earth. They're probably hanging out with Tom Bombadil, one of my favorite characters, who I just... What, the hammer didn't work there on Ontario Homestead? I'm bummed that Tom Bombadil didn't make it into the extended version of the movies. I can understand why he wasn't in the theatrical version. He didn't really fit the storyline that was being told there, but they really needed to put put him in the extended, super version. We could just hand wave that once either, and just say that if they had tried that, it would have been too direct, and Sauron would have just stopped them. The whole point of I don't know. It's hard to argue because at that point they were sort of planning on having the entire Fellowship walk into Mordor, but arguably the only reason the whole thing succeeded is because it was just a couple of small hobbits sneaking in and not a frontal assault. And arguably Sauron would have just seen an eagle coming and had all of the Nazgul stop it, or just shot it with eye lasers, because anytime Frodo is visible or in a direct line of sight, something like that, whenever the eye is searching for him and comes close to him, it's pretty much disabling. So I don't think that if he were to just try to fly to Mount Doom, they would get away with it, basically. But yes, plot armor, essentially. But the thing is, Tolkien was very good with plot armor. And it is sort of a matter of argument. But if you write as much as he does to argue, to defend why something is the way it is, it flushes out. Well, yeah, Ontario, it's not necessarily arguably a great book series in the context of how we think about books now, but if you read it for the experience, Sam should have died. Yeah, maybe. Arguably so. But it's also, a cheesily good tale of goodness. Sam needed to go home and carry on the story for the next chapters, But anyways, if you actually, Tolkien wrote enough backstory to all his stuff that he actually did give a good reason for his plot armor. But yes, there are things you can dissect and say, why didn't they do this? Actually, another channel that I really like lately is Screen Rant. And they're, Ryan George, there's a Ryan George channel, and there's Screen Rant, where Ryan George works for them and does pitch meetings for movies that have already been out for a long time. He sort of gives really corny pitch meetings about just the problems, the plot holes or plot armor in a movie. Really funny stuff. I'll get you a link just because that's funny enough. Super easy, barely an inconvenience. basically goes in and takes movies and just, I mean, they make fun of him in a really funny, appreciating way, but just sort of as almost as though the writers are really self-aware of how silly the plot elements are, but they're just pitching them because that's just the way you do movies. I don't know the Duke of the Bracelet series. Is that's a book series? I love the Wheel of Time series, which is why I'm reading it to you guys. You guys are listening to my Wheel of Time readings, aren't you? Very important. Hello, Kanzi. How you doing? Haven't read through a Stephen King novel? Really, Ontario? What kind of books do you like? Sounds like you don't like slow burns. And I'll agree, both Lord of the Rings and Stephen King like to have a doldrum section where you just got to read through it. You just got to grit your teeth and make it through that, lazy river section. So I'm trying to find these series you're talking about there, Palmetto. I found one of them. But when I type in Duke of the Bracelets, I just get bracelets, like rubber band bracelets for Duke University. You're just talking crap. Well, one of those was an actual book series. That's funny. Various journals from old adventurers. Like who, Kanzi? Like Jeremiah Johnson kind of thing? I do enjoy a lot of nonfiction. Yeah, I caught on to that, Palmetto, but it's actually funny because that apparently is a thing. Ontario Homestead, I'll link it to you. Yeah, Meriwether Lewis is a good one. Lewis and Clark, they had some adventures and they did some things, and there are things to be learned from them. Hello, future me. All right, I'll check that out, Anna. Oh, you know what? I have seen that channel name before. Oh, Gunslinger's good. I like it, but yes, probably a little slow. The Cell by Stephen King is probably one of his faster books. That one's a really good zombie apocalypse one. It's more of like a 28 Days Later type zombies, and then they become telepathic. It's a little weird. Exactly, Anna. Cell is good. It was so for those of you who don't know what Stephen King's Cell was, it's a good book and it's a good movie actually. The movie adaptation was pretty darn good. It actually is a good the chaos of an initial collapse type situation when everybody's turning into zombies and stuff, hitting the street and all the chaos that's happening. It's a pretty good depiction of that, I feel. I liked it. Um, but both the movie and the good book are good. But it's basically about where uh, some terrorists or government group, it's never really made clear, somebody hacks the cell phone networks, all of them presumably, and sends out a signal that erases the human mind and leaves only feral aggressiveness, basically, making them go crazy and just use their teeth and hands to kill people nearby, sort of like a 28 Days Later type rage zombie thing. And then the survivors band together. The zombies all redevelop a sort of telepathic hive mind and start. It just sort of enters this sort of strange situation where it's not necessarily that they're being hunted down, but they're almost being herded by the zombies. And it takes a different look at this situation, and it's a little odd, but I appreciate it because it gets you rethinking the stereotypical progression of zombie apocalypses and stuff like that. Sunfall, I haven't heard of that. Palmetto, I never really did get into Dragon Ball Z. My friends watched it, so I would see bits here and there, but um, I'm definitely not a hardcore fan. Under the Dome was also good. I'd never watched the TV show based on that. I appreciate some of the zombie genre. I don't really think it's, great application for preppers and stuff. Mostly I like looking at it to get in the atmosphere of a post-collapse situation and look at how they do things wrong, how I would do things differently from how they do. Yes, I'm sorry, Tony. I don't know why I never did. I probably would have enjoyed it, but I just didn't get into some of those shows. All right, Anna. Well, maybe I'll check that out sometime. Did Anthony just Greta? This is an 81 Honda. No, that's an older quote. That quote is much older than Greta. Fan film Apocalypse. I'll check it out. Thank you, Kanzi. How dare you? That's funny. No, that wasn't Hunger Games. That was Harry Potter. Yeah, it's Dax Shepard. Palmetto's what the original is Dax Shepard. How dare you? This is an 81 Honda. Or shoot, what's the other one? Ah, my Miata. But no, the one I think that you might be thinking of, Anna, is Harry Potter. With Snape. How dare you stand where he stood? Oh, Wayne, how just how racist are you, Wayne? Employee of the Month. That's right. That was a good movie. Oh man. When they're up in they're playing cards up in the hidden little spot that they made up in the racks. That is one of the best scenes ever. Oh, I thank you, Kanzi. I can do this for hours if I let myself. honestly, I don't. Once I get going on the live stream, I'll do. I think I've done 3 or 4 hours and had to cut myself off because we just keep going. Well, Wayne, you really need to stop doing that. You really need to stop being Hitler. It's not a good guy to be. Cheese fort? What's a cheese fort? Sounds tasty, but I don't know what that is. Oh, the cheese fort. Yes. Okay. I thought for some reason I was thinking it was like paper towel or something like that. Yeah, that was a good movie. Yeah, I caught up with you there. I might need to watch that movie again. That was funny. I'm glad you like that, Kenzie. Thank you. Hello, country frau. How are you doing? Yes, let's talk about prepping. You should be prepping. Prepping is good. You should do that. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. YouTube would keep you from saying stuff like that. Keeps people from saying, inflammatory statements. I bet that you probably can't say those words and nothing wrong together either, because people like to say that just to be douchebags. Oh, country frau. We did talk about prepping earlier, mostly in terms of why are you prepping beyond just to survive a little longer yourself. The real reason that people should be prepping is to help to have more to pass on to the next generation. The rally in Virginia. If we're going to talk about the rally in Virginia, then we need to talk about what everyone's going to do when they go home to make sure that doesn't happen again. Because if everyone's going to get all up in a huff about what one state over there is doing, I really hope that they care that much every week of the year for the rest of their lives. Because everybody made such a big deal about that. And I think that now they're all going to go home and forget about political activism. That's what I think. Not all of them. There's a few channels that a few people that I know that probably are going to continue fighting a good fight. But I feel sort of the same way about big old rallies like that I feel about voting for the president every 4 years. Yes, that I think that there are important parts of being involved and making yourself heard, but there are far more important things to be doing that are not being done to make the world be the way that we want it to be. And I think that things like voting for the president and going to rallies gives people a false sense of accomplishment that keeps them from doing the things that really matter. That's my problem. I got no problem with people going and doing that. I think it's great that people want to take time and money out of their lives and the lives of their channel subscribers to go and do that. But I hope that all of them are going to go home and be like writing letters to their senators and donating money to action groups that are actually trying to influence elections the way that they want to be influenced and all this stuff. Because you can go and rally all you want. You can vote for the president every 4 years and then complain that Democrats are spending a lot of money to influence elections. But my question is, why aren't you doing the same thing? If you really care about it this much, to be spending money to go to Virginia, to go be on camera at a rally, maybe you should be spending that money also trying to influence elections rather than complaining when someone else does it. Voting with your dollar, voting with your time and your energy the rest of the time, rather than waiting until every 4 years when some big event happens, like the presidential election, or every 2 years between that when some other rally or political event happens. Everybody just sort of hops on. But you know what I see is, if anything, this was just a test run. And whoever was behind it on the left, they let it happen, and they can be confident of two things. The first thing is most of the people who were involved in that will go home with a false sense of accomplishment and let the same thing happen in their state if something didn't literally happen while they had their backs turned. And secondly, the next time that this happens, if they do it again soon, it will not get as large of a turnout because it's old news. They can do this in another state, and I guarantee you it will have less of a turnout from out-of-state visitors who have already done this one and can't afford to go to the next one or the next one or the next one. So, yeah, it's great. I mean, I'm not trash talking anybody who went to the rally and stuff. And I'm really happy that it went well and no one got hurt. But really, what it comes down to for me is that was just one day. That was really, I mean, that was one event, one day, and it didn't really change anything outside of Virginia. I don't think that anybody in another state saw that turnout and was like, well, holy crap, I'm just going to stop being against guns. I'm just never going to put an anti-gun law through my state's legislature, because a lot of people sure went to Virginia, and I'm afraid of that. I don't think that anybody is actually being stopped from attempting the next thing that they're going to attempt because people went to Virginia. I think that the only thing that will stop that is continued pressure through activism and voting with your dollars, like Tony says, voting with your time, your energy, just doing what you're actually supposed to do at your local level. But to me, the fact that Virginia happened at all is just more a wake-up call to everybody, I hope, that that is happening. I mean, it should never have gotten that bad that people from other states needed to come to a protest. And I just really hope that nobody who left their state to go protest in Virginia ends up experiencing the same thing in their state, because I'm really going to wonder why. Yeah, see, and I sort of was worried that that might happen yesterday, Kanzi, but I'm happy that it didn't. Because that was one of the only reasons that I saw yesterday going crazy, is if some nutball from any side decided to cause violence. But I think anybody thinking that there's going to be some kind of government crackdown and large civilian response is, I mean, not just just delusional, actually delusional, with a disconnect from reality. Yeah, Wayne. I mean, I just don't think it's a protest. It was a rally. It was never going to be this big defining moment. It was only ever, we're showing up to make our voices heard, to show you how many people care about this issue, to give some kind of pushback. But I just, yeah, it disappoints me how many people were doing the whole making our stand. This is, I don't know. It just is silly. Hello, Vanessa Kitty. And you just know that people who behave like that, who talk about rallies or protests like it's the start of a civil war, they're not the kind of people to go home and just have normal mundane involvement in their local affairs. I agree with you, Wayne. I definitely think we need to hold people accountable, both financially and legally, for their involvement and stuff. And a lot of that's just going to have to come down to local, state representatives. You know, people need to start taking hold of things where they can actually affect it. You know, um, if you can't get federal senators on charges, get your local state senators on charges. Get the things that they do outlawed within your state. Get nullification or constitutional protection laws, and get things where you can actually charge state legislature individuals for things that they do. That, I mean, in your local area is really the only place that you're individually going to be able to have an effect. All right, thanks, Ontario. You have a good one. We'll be wrapping it up here real soon. But you know, it just, all these channels that are going on and on about the gun rights, I don't hear them talking about I mean, some do. Some do talk about their state legislature and who's doing what and how their local viewers should, you know, be paying attention. But not a lot. Not a lot are pushing the local activism angle. You know, not a lot of them are researching. And I'm not great at this myself. It's something that I need to work on. But the main thing that disappoints me with this is that the people who have the means to be politically active financially and time-wise and this stuff, they're focusing on these hot topics rather than, you know, motivating their audiences and doing these things to get people to really start affecting things where it can have a strong effect. Yeah, Wayne, and I think that kind of thing is should be the case. You know, that's where we're at. That's where a lot of the if that's where the situation is going, where you know, for instance, if people want to criminalize sheriffs who won't take guns, then yeah, it is within the realm of possibility maybe to criminalize senators' actions, basically. Oh, Tony, did you just quote that? It's a good quote, but I prefer with great power comes great responsibility. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. And hatred leads to the dark side. And that's the thing, Anna, is it is hard. And I don't necessarily mean, you know, I mean, if you can only shop at Walmart, then maybe you can only shop at Walmart. But there are ways that a person can influence things financially otherwise. But, you know, even just when it comes down to looking at what brands at Walmart go to who, it's just that a lot of people who are claiming to be politically active aren't doing some of the grassroots stuff. Master of Disguise. That was a good movie. People do not appreciate Master of Disguise as much as they should. But, you know, Anna, I mean, I understand not being, you know, you sometimes people just need to shop at Walmart. And I think that people who have other options, you know, do not necessarily appreciate the situation that people on a really tight budget are in whenever they have Walmart or expensive specialty stores, and that's all they have in their particular town, it's easy enough to say, well, why don't you go to Fred Meyer, or why don't you go to some of these other stores that are often near a Walmart? Some places that is not an option. And it's not only more expensive to go to the other place, like you say, you'd have to drive a considerable distance and pay even more in gas just to stick it to Walmart. When maybe you can save money by shopping at Walmart and then donate to political causes in your local area. Yeah, Ogre Dad, I often do, for instance, like um, wonder if I'm really living the way that I should, if I want to be prepping. Or oh, and thank you, Country Frau, for mentioning the poster. Um, but yeah, most everybody has things, their vices, like driving when they could easily get places on a bike or walk or whatever, and it would be better for their pocket and their local pollution and their fitness level, but they don't. Um, yeah, Ogre Dad, that's true too. I mean, I think it sort of does flush out when Walmart um, uh, is so considerably cheaper and the brands are the same. Um, yeah, it's just it is finances do beat all for a lot of people. It's just very hard for a lot of people to justify paying 10 or 20% more just to stick it to Walmart. I mean, a lot of people simply cannot. But yeah, if there is any choice, and for a lot of people don't realize that there is a choice, Walmart is not always the best option. And if you do have other choices, it does help. It is worth going and looking and comparing prices across different stores, because if you are that tight, then you really need to be being tight everywhere that you can. But yeah, like Tony said, if you can, I mean, if you can do Costco, there are other options that make it economically viable to skip Walmart. But a lot of that, we got onto that from basically just voting with your dollar, and I don't necessarily always mean don't shop at Walmart. A lot of people think that that's what voting with your dollar means, but there are other ways to do that to affect the way that your local politics work, besides not going to Walmart. That's funny, Anna. I go to Walmart in my pajamas. I mean, if you can't go to Walmart in your pajamas, what's the point? Yeah, Wayne. See that kind of stuff, I understand. Going to another state to shoot because you don't want to support California ranges. That's going out of your way to make a statement and actually put your dollars where it counts. And that's the kind of stuff that, or really one of the main things for me is look up. I mean, the people complain about how, let's say, guns. Democratic senators get into their state legislature and ban guns. Well, are you buying from any of the companies that those guys make their money from? Because state senators usually have businesses in their state. Are you supporting those businesses? Are you picketing against those businesses and saying this business is owned by this guy who is anti-gun? I don't see that kind of activism going on in the level that it should be until the laws have already passed, until these senators have been in their state legislature for years. It's like, why are you letting it happen and then complaining? You need to be finding out where these people's money come from and boycotting them. Actually doing the stuff that affects things before it's too late, before you're fighting an uphill battle. And yeah, Tony, if there's something that you can get, you can afford to buy it from somebody locally. I mean, that's obviously the better way to go. Keep your money right there. All right. Well, I think I'll. Okay, Wayne. Well, we'll be wrapping it up in the next 5 or 10 minutes, probably. I've been going for a couple hours plus. But that's funny, Anna. Your 6-year-old heard the Lord of the Rings talk and had to go watch some Two Towers. I've actually been meaning to dig out some Lord of the Rings and watch it again lately, just because it's so classic and I haven't watched it in a long time. It really is good cinema. Yeah, Palmetto. It's definitely like local hardware stores. Even just the Aces are often owned by a local person, or a Do It Best hardware center are often a local franchise, even though it's a national chain. The business owner is often somebody that lives in your area. But just things like that. Anything that you can do to keep, just try to think about where that money trickles up to whenever you're going to go shop somewhere or purchase something. And if it's within your budget to buy, even if it's a little more, to go to somewhere a little more local, somewhere, whatever, a local grocer or something like that, then go there. I'm gonna get the Baron of the Necklaces book series, and I'm gonna read it to you, Tony. Just because you're being funny about it, I went and found something called that, and we're gonna read it. Exactly, Tony. Ace Hardware and Do It Best and a few other brands are basically, they're just like a catalog, and you pay a franchise fee, and you can order out of their catalog, but you're also free to just find other sources for stuff. You're not actually, it's not really a franchise so much as like a licensing fee. But like, I worked in a lumberyard hardware store that was licensed with Do It Best, and you get a gigantic catalog of their stuff, and you get huge discounts on things under their umbrella. But you can still go purchase things from other companies. You still have to get your lumber and other things from other places, and you're not like, your store layout is not dictated by them. Like some other companies, if you own the franchise, they will send someone in to set up your promotional stuff, to rearrange the products in your store, and you don't have a say in it. That's funny, Anna. It's a good little girl there. But yeah, even just stuff like that, it's not necessarily enough to just identify, oh, that's a national chain. Because it might be a national chain, but that company might be paying a flat fee, or just a very flat agreed upon percentage of profits, where it's actually a very local person or family that owns the actual brick and mortar store that you're spending your money at. And so that money is staying a little more local than, say, I think McDonald's, just generally, they plant the store there, they hire the franchise runner. You might be able to invest in it and be the franchise owner, but not in a way where that's your business or anything. You just get to invest in the brick and mortar store and get a small cut back from it. But it's very different from somebody who owns a business and is putting their time and energy into producing a good collection of products and making money off of it by delivering goods to you. Yeah, exactly, Tony. And that's the kind of stuff that maybe we could do on top of talking about food is just looking at that kind of stuff because I think that that's really some of the important grassroots stuff that people need to be doing. Not just talking about political things, but also um, identifying the industry in your area, and this is for prepper reasons. Um, Looking at what industry your area is supported by, if it has one, something that uh, is more than just part of the consumer economy, whether that's lumber or mining or whatever. Most counties have something that they can produce individually that is of value. And if you don't live somewhere like that, you probably want to find somewhere that can be economically viable on its own. But just figuring out what the lifeblood of your local economy is and helping to support that, and also identifying parts of the prepper or sustainable industry in your area. Um, those are good things to pay attention to and help support to reinforce your area so your money is being infused into someone near you rather than going out into the world at large. That's funny, Anna. See that I think that if they were to actually get caught, that would be trouble. But that's funny. But yeah, just knowing the difference, knowing who owns the businesses, where the money goes, and what's being done with that money is a big deal. Whether that's keeping that money out of the hands of your political rivals or putting it in the hands of local homesteading stores or just small stores like honey makers or things like that, people in your area who might actually be fellow preppers or homesteaders. That's going to help reinforce things that are going to benefit you. And like Tony said, things that will affect you on a daily basis. But I think that's a conversation that needs to be had is it's just part of community, and people talk about community in the sense of group building. But I think it's far more important to be thinking about what your community at large, how it affects you on a day-to-day basis now and in a collapse, basically. See, that's the thing, actually, Ogre Dad, is a lot of food trucks nowadays are the real deal, depending on where you're at. Um, you go into a chain restaurant and they're basically just a job mill. A lot of local restaurants have such a large percentage of their crew is so new and freshly trained that yeah, it's not very good and it's not very sanitary. Whereas, especially around here where there are a lot of foodies, the food trucks are individually family owned. They take pride in it. It's the same people every single day making the same food every single day, and it's really good. So actually, yeah, around here, the food trucks are not like really cheap food that's questionable. It's actually almost like a gourmet. Go down to the food truck plaza because around here there's just they own parking lots. The parking lots are permanently surrounded by the food trucks, and they're actually not. They're more expensive than a fast food restaurant sometimes, but the portions are big, and it's like, dang it, guys, I might need to go get a food truck barbecue before I go to work now. But yeah, food trucks really are one of the only ways to be a profitable restaurateur nowadays. When you get into brick and mortar and all the expenses, and really the overhead of having a large crew that a restaurant really requires, um, it's just too much overhead. You have to hire so many people, whereas with a food truck, yeah, you can just pump out food and make a little bit of profit. It really is a good trend lately, but I just hope that it balances out and stays profitable for those who are doing it well. Anyways, guys, I do think that I'll be wrapping it up. It's getting pretty close to my get ready for work time. Yeah, that tamale talk makes me think about um, burrito freezers for preppers. Um, Making a bunch of burritos and freezing them is a really good option for preppers. Uh, just to buy a bunch of food in bulk or to use up a lot of your food storage because you put rice and beans in them and stuff. Uh, but I like the idea of just making like 100 burritos on an afternoon, wrapping them all up in foil, and just filling a freezer with burritos. Because you can just grab them on your day to day life and go. And in a grid down, if you just have one little freezer that you have to keep running and it's literally just stacked chock full with frozen burritos, that's quite a bit of ready to go, on the go, healthy, good food. Oh yeah, Tony, what was up with the bank? You did say earlier that you had some trouble with them. I take it that it was an unproductive visit. But yeah, it was a good chat. I appreciate you all for dropping in here to talk for a while. Good little 2 hour, 20-minute chat here. Yeah, and I think you might actually be one of the people that's helped reinforce this for me. I mean, it's something that a lot of people do. It's just sort of a big family thing, I think, because there are a lot of people who do something similar. They'll just batch a whole bunch of food, but yeah, it's not necessarily a prepper unique thing, but that's why it's one. That's why it's such a good idea, is because it already works for so many big families. Yeah, if you have 6 kids, um, you cannot make individual meals for 6 kids every day for an entire month. That's just so much time. So yeah, take an afternoon, make a bunch of burritos and muffins, freeze them up, and just grab and go. Um, you're kidding, Tony. That's not right. So she had actually signed the check and they wanted her present, and it was at your bank. I I don't want to be inflammatory. I hate when people tell other people what to do in those kinds of situations. But I mean, that's the kind of thing that's almost outrageous. If that's your bank where you've both been there, you've both performed business, your names are on the check, you're married, she has signed it, they have her signature on file. I almost feel like maybe that teller didn't know what they were talking about, and a manager needs to be talked to. Because I can understand if that was the case. Like if I go into a bank that isn't my bank, they would want everybody present with their identifications. But if it is an account of your own bank where I mean, they should even just know you. Oh, it was a certain amount. Even so, I think that that's a little. Hmm. Well, maybe if it's not with an actual joint account where you've stipulated. I don't know, but even then, they know you're married. I find that to be ridiculous. Spouses used to be able to speak for each other on a legal level, and I think that the fact that that's changing is sort of part of the whole divorce culture and the government getting in between marriage, because the fact that government can preside over a marriage is actually a part of the marriage contract. Okay. I mean, I guess I can sort of understand that, Tony. But at the same time, what's the point of endorsing a check? Like, where's the line that I can't write someone a check without needing to be there for them to even use it? Or it was written by somebody else. Yeah, I don't know. That's all a little hazy, but anyways, I'm sorry you wasted your time going down there. Yeah, I bet, Anna. Yeah, it is a bummer, especially when you have to drive for. I gather that Tony is not exactly within walking distance of his bank, so. Well, anyways, I should probably get going, get some lunch together for work, and all that jazzy stuff. But it's been a really good chat. Really enjoyed talking with you guys and having a little bit of a hangout. Definitely going to be trying to put together another video either for later today or tomorrow, probably concerning food, but we'll see what topic I decide. Oh damn, Tony, that's not cool at all. 2 hours of driving for essentially nothing. I'm sorry. Yeah, exactly, Tony. Once you've signed the check, it goes. Well, dang, sorry, man. That really sucks. Yeah, country file. I can understand that. Oh, you bet, Palmetto. It's always a joy. I tell you what, these things right here have been crazy popular lately. It's just a disposable. I've actually thought about doing a video on it, but people do not like vaping. And honestly, these probably don't have the storing value of cigarettes, but and also cigarettes are just really good for currency. But this is just a little disposable vape unit, and I cannot tell you how popular they are with the young folks. Gonna get banned real soon, I bet. But I sell dozens and dozens of those in a day, just in and out, in and out. 18, 19, 20 year olds just purchasing stuff up. Yep. Yep, their little USB drive for nicotine. Woo. Anyways, hope you're all doing well today. Hope you all have a merry old day there. If you need something to watch, don't forget about my book readings. Trying to get back into those and get people watching them. Anyways, I think I'm going to go ahead and kill this one now. Hope you're all doing well. Thank you all for watching. Thank you anybody who rewatched for 2.5 hours without live chat. Appreciate that. Anyways, hope you're all doing well. Everybody stay safe out there.